everyone, welcome to CA GMTA, to another episode for all of you all. We've started, I'm Raseeka Gokhale, and me with my other two colleagues, CA Ronak Thakkar and CA Nidhisha, have started this episode series so that us budding chartered accountants can venture into the practice world with the testimonial of successful and entrepreneurial practicing chartered accountants today. And for this, we've already done two episodes, but the third one is special. Special, I think, even for me, because it's going to be a real testimonial for my future career. Introducing Anand Bhatia. CA Anand Bathiya is the partner at Bhatia and Associates LLP. I mean, if I have to tell him about his degrees, he's of course a chartered accountant, a company secretary, a bachelor at commerce and law. He is a registered valuer, also is certified from the Indian School of Business Hyderabad on value creating financial strategies. He's one of the leading advisors for mergers and acquisitions, and I think has advised for more than 200 plus M&A transactions over the last 15 years of rich experience. Let it be IPOs, right issues, open offers. He's the person to go to. He's also the member at the Valuation Standard Board. He's a treasurer at the Bombay Chartered Accountants Society, and he's also the member of the Real Estate Committee of the Indian Merchant Chambers, represents as independent directors. I mean, I think the list can go on and on, but it's amazing to have such a person with such an experience to be guiding us today. So, Anand sir, it's great to have you today. And I think we can jump right to your rich experience and how we can gain from it.
Thank you, Raseeka. Thank you for having me here. You guys are doing a fantastic job of broadcasting thought leadership to the viewers and participants.
Thank you.
I am feeling a sense of FOMO that when I was qualifying, I didn't have a platform. We used to envy management professionals and students that they have strong alumni networks. They have that kind of campus feeling, which generally we had a miss in the CA kind of study. But yes, you guys are doing the maximum with your social network initiatives. So might not be a physical network, but you guys are doing a fantastic job for chartered accountants and budding practitioners through the social networks. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And it's great for you to be such a enthusiastic participant in this.
It's my pleasure of what I can share.
Great. So I think we can start off with the questions, and you can let me know your thoughts or how you would be. It would be a great way to guide the rest of us. So I think we'll just jumpstart with the first one being, I mean, because you're from a CA family, as I've heard, and you are right now working in your own firm. So was this a career choice that you went through as a personal choice, or was it deemed you were going to become a CA?
I mean, it was sort of mixed. Maybe some people felt that it's a deemed thing, but I was, at least to begin with in my college life, never quite fixated with the chartered accountancy course. But as things went through, it logically fell down the route that most people were expecting, that it would go down the CA route. But I think that it was not by design. Maybe circumstances led. Maybe you are oriented right from a young age that even on your breakfast tables and dining tables, you are talking about firms and finances and clients. So that kind of all fell into place. But it was certainly not by design.
Okay, so a mix of both. Let's see. Secondly, I mean, this will help not only the chartered accountants, but to be. So why did you join a Big Four for your articleship rather than your own firm?
So the decision was very clear that it shouldn't be the firm that my father was a partner with. Because if I can take a Gujarati anecdote, they say that Parki Ma Kaan Vinde. That if a girl is small and the ear needs to be pierced, the own mother can't pierce the ears. She'll not be able to bear the pain that the child goes through. But if you go to outsider in that particular shop or that nursery, you'll be able to pierce the ears very easily because it's someone else's child. And you need to go through that grind. So clearly the decision was very clear that it will be with another firm. The choice of firm was more, again, by default rather than design. It was more of working with a person who essentially was the signing partner for one of the clients that my father's firm used to work with. So there was that person for whom I selected this organization. And if he would be with some other firm, maybe that would have been the story. But it was more person rather than the firm.
It was actually very well calculated. I mean, you went on with the agenda that not your father's firm, but such that you got a very rich experience because it was well known in the industry.
Yeah, it helps. I think, being somewhere else, you are then sharing the tiffin boxes with everyone. Maybe in my firm, I would have got some different treatment at that age. Being there, doing yourself, I think that would be one of the fundamental things that any trainee should go through as a part of his articleship. Doing at your own firm, maybe a second preference, I would say.
Great. So that was before qualification. Post qualification also, did you immediately join your firm or was there a detour first?
No, I think almost immediate. Maybe 3-6 months here and there, I would have continued the existing engagements that were there in my firm where I had done my articleships, just finishing that off. But otherwise, I was very clear that it needs to be something different. It needs to be something where I can relate to much better. And the time came, and that was a logical decision. But not much time. I think 3.5 years of articleships, and maybe 6 more months after that.
So it was a right leap into what you had to take over anyway.
Yeah, it helps.
Great. So coming to the question of how was the experience or is the experience of working in a family firm?
So I think, family firm has its own strengths. And like all things in life, it also has the other side of the coin. But I think where you see a lot of professional firms having family pedigree is unlike, let's say, a shop where the son would sit with the father, or maybe some of the film fraternity where maybe even a 2-3-year-old person would have that celebrity status. Maybe in a professional world, one would also independently need to go through the grind. One would need to make sure that he passes a rigorous examination. So to some extent, meritocracy is there in that process itself. More often than not, in a family kind of a situation, if it is business, you would see that one would want to rank everyone in the same page, and then meritocracy gets affected. But in a professional, I think family is a big strength when it comes to, even if you see some of these larger international firms, these are surnames of people who have founded it across multiple generations. Even if you see the law firms today in India, you would see there are families and founding families who are at the helm of it. So I think there's a lot of stability that a family lends. And if you are able to have a right mix with professionals as well, I think that's the way to go. But I have cherished being in a family firm because it has given me the right amount of flexibility. At the same time, the right amount of positive push to achieve and realize your potential to the maximum. So I think in a professional setup, family is more often than not a virtue rather than a bane.
I know. So, but as in, because you're into practice, normally everybody says when you're at practice, you're supposed to know everything. So in that context, does generalization work, or should in practice also there should be specialization done?
Yeah. So I think the choice, if you have, between generalization and specialization, you should certainly have specialization as a practitioner. The problem comes more often than not is that when we are starting a greenfield practice, or maybe a not so large practice, it will be driven by client requirements and fulfilling that client's commitment. And then you would end up being a generalist because the CA course and what we are made ready for is so versatile that you would know accounting, tax, compliance, legal, GST, Companies Act, all of that. If you take in parallel the doctor's profession, you won't go to a cardiologist for something that is with your eye, though both are doctors. But with a CA, you would expect that he should know about tax, legal, accounting. But more and more, each of these things are becoming specialized. And accounting is its completely different domain. My father used to tell me that when he qualified, there were no accounting standards. And today we have a plethora of accounting standards, valuation standards, Ind AS, internal audit standards. So each of that is getting complicated, which is where specialization is maybe the tilt that one should look at depending on the circumstances. But more important, Raseeka, would be rather than a choice between generalization and specialization, would be to look at it more as a solution rather than a service. You may be a generalization, but as long as you are offering that 360-degree compliance solution to the client, that is where you can, go up the ladder in terms of your practice domain. Or even if it is specialization, you can't be so narrow that it doesn't meet a solution and it is just check the box. So whatever you do, like for example, if one is doing into merger and acquisitions, it's a specialized thing. But at the end of the day, it can't be just Companies Act. For M&A professional, he would need to know stamp duty, FEMA, SEBI, income tax, Companies Act, business combination. Maybe he may not know all accounting standards, but he would know business combination as an accounting standard. So from that perspective, even specialization needs to be a solution for the client, and so would generalization need to be a solution. From a practitioner's perspective, specialization usually is slightly more rewarding. It's slightly more, looked better in terms of your professional approach. But otherwise, I think solution and clients are more important.
So I think to build upon the same question, was M&A your first choice of specialization, or how did you venture into that?
So as a firm, we were doing M&As, IPOs, even much before that. I got an occasion to join. But somewhere I had a little bit liking to study businesses. And, even today, I think the most important takeaway in my practice life has been interacting with 200, 300 businesses and trying to study what worked for them and what didn't work for them. Businesses have come, failed, some of them have gone up. You also have an occasion to gauge entrepreneurs. That a successful entrepreneur has these traits, maybe a not so successful has these traits. So that was very exciting. And that sort of pushed me towards valuation, pushed me towards transactions, pushed me towards business synergies, because M&A is just not your compliance or sort of post-mortem like we do in audit, but it's live and slightly front-ending. So their domain knowledge, business knowledge, commercial sense helped. And I think the ground was set at the firm, and I just helped carry it forward in a small way.
That is great. I think CA final elective paper or career choice liking makes the big groundwork of where you want to specialize in. But like I was at that stage at some point. For many who are at this stage of whether we should join the family firm or go into the industry and try out our expertise, what would be your advice to such on the brink people?
So, I would think if you have a family practice or a background, you are very much blessed. And, we see so many people in employment, in large firms, working at good positions, wanting to chase their own dreams rather than work with someone else's dream, wanting the right amount of, work that they would like to do, wanting the right amount of flexibility and reward. But if they don't have that sort of a pedigree or a family background, then sometimes there is a fear of the unknown that pushes them not to go down that route. But if you have a family firm, then you should consider yourself blessed. And I would think that, growing a practice is like a marathon. sometimes more like a relay race where you keep passing the batons across different teams and partners. And from that perspective, if you are looking to go down and create value over a large period of time, if there is a good succession plan in place, you have a family backing, it's a big strength. And working with family is always a pleasure, because wherever you'll work as a practitioner, there will be partners. And typically in partners, there needs to be that alignment, there needs to be that chemistry. As you say, great mind thinks alike. You need to have that alignment of thinking. And in a family atmosphere, you would naturally have that alignment because you are born and brought up in that same culture, same pool, same value systems. So that chemistry between family members is naturally and logically good, other than exceptions. So I think if you have a family practice, that would be the de facto choice. But many of us don't have that. And that is where we should consider ourselves blessed.
Correct. So that is great advice. I think I'll take it personally, if not others. But in your introduction, I had a whole list of degrees that you hold. So how did that help? Because in a family practice, you were it's not going to give you a plus on the salary like people put on with the degree. So how did that as a whole help you in your practice career?
So again, the field that I'm working in is not core accounting, core tax, core legal, or core compliance. It's transactional or some of the other consulting related areas, which requires multidisciplinary abilities. So just as an accountant, you can't add too much value. It's more of a service than a solution to the client. You would need to think through wearing a hat of a company secretary, of a legal professional, of an accountant, and then coming up with the solution that works for the client. We see accountants having a blind spot when it comes to courts, contracts, and all of the different things that accountants are not used to. We see lawyers fumbling when it comes to numbers. Sometimes lakhs and crores are same to them. Valuation is clearly a distinct game for them. So in isolation, it is difficult for them to add value. And which is where these multiple educational qualifications help in terms of working towards that professional initiative.
So that adds on as a personality where versatile everything to deal with your client.
It helps again, with that one objective of being solution oriented. It just helps in that objective.
So I think this is a very maybe question in the hindsight, that if you were given an option to change your career decision, would you do it? And if so, why? And what
Certainly
would it be, I think?
No regrets, and God's been kind. And we have been able to do things over the last many years that one would feel satisfied for. So it's been a good career choice, but there's always you think that you could have done something slightly better here and there. Maybe if I had a 1 or 2 year stint with maybe some strategy firm or some business consulting firm, it would have helped get a slightly telescopic perspective as well. Because as accountants, we are very microscopic and make sure that the ticks and ties are there. But maybe for a successful entrepreneur or a practitioner, that telescopic and microscopic is important. So maybe a stint in industrial training or post-qualification, a year or two working with the strategy firms, or maybe in some company would have been a little bit of a tweak. But ultimately, I think this would have been the course, and no regrets, Raseeka.
So I think I was coming to that question. For somebody who is, decided wants to go into practice or has a family-owned firm, should they look at industrial training or going into these big consulting firms? Mainly industrial training. Should that be an option that they go to?
I think so, because even if you want to get into practice, doing that industrial stint helps in terms of understanding corporate culture, understanding how an organization works, because ultimately on the other side, you are going to serve them and you are going to make sure that you provide solutions to them. So if you know how some of these corporate nuances work, then it will be very much better for you to navigate it when you are going out, consulting them, advising them, Otherwise, you are on a blind spot, not knowing as to how they function internally. So maybe not for the thing that you learn there from a technical perspective. Of course, you learn that technical perspective, but just being there, getting a feel of it is something that might be worth it. And anyways, you are doing 2 years with a CA firm. A year or two with a company might just add a much more holistic flavor to what you do.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be if you're going into a profession and firm, you don't need to, or there's no plus point of Ivy. So you can still do an industrial training.
I would think so, Raseeka.
Okay. So I think it's been a pleasure. And before signing off, if you can just, for all the young chartered, today I think is the day exams get over. So everybody is going to come out with various mindsets. So for the to be and already going to become chartered accountants, what would be your signing off piece of word of advice?
I think just one thing, Raseeka, all of us are in a profession which is a service profession, and there's a lot of expectation on us as chartered accountants that the industry, the nation as a large has, and we should live up to those expectations. Never compromise on ethics. It's easier said than done. There'll be occasions in practice, job, everywhere where we might have to do a choice, but that is where the character will come in play in terms of living to the ethics. A recent anecdote Mr. Premji said at this BCAS Founders Day was that for professionals, ethics should be, he said, gray is black. So even something that is gray, if you are a professional, you should be above board in terms of that. So I think that would clearly be the advice. And second is that any decision you take for your career, for your well-being, make sure it is balanced. Make sure it is long, because it's a long career of 40-45 years, and come with that vision of a marathon that you are going to run, rather than maybe spurts here and there. And typically in a marathon, you would start slow and maybe spurt towards the end. So just like a professional, the best years will be in the latter half. So make sure you are positioned well. Don't be edgy or itchy to switch jobs every year or so. Make sure that you learn things first. The CA degree doesn't mean that you know everything. It will only give you an entry to learn. It will make you learn how to learn so that you can learn anything going forward. So it opens a lot of doors, but true learning will only come after that. So be receptive to that, and don't compromise on ethics will be the two things that stand out to me.
That is, I mean, you word it so nicely that I can hear you for 30 more minutes, because you have a way of getting things, and I'm sure you get things done also very nicely, because it's been an honor to have the experience from you and listen to your anecdotes. Thank you so much for being with us today. I hope everybody gains from your experience and has a great into the firm and practice world.
Thank you, Raseeka. You guys are doing fantastic work, and you, Nidhi, Ronak, just keep up the good work. And I'm sure a lot of people will benefit out of the initiative that you guys are taking. All the best to all three of you.
Thank you so much, and we hope to see all you guys have a great learning from this webinar, and many more episodes to come. So stay tuned with CA GMT. Thank you.
Wherever you'll work as a practitioner,